I was excluded from my mother's birthday celebration because I didn't fit next to my sister's boyfriend. Ironically, I was his boss. My father looked me in the eye and said, "If you still show up, don't call me your dad." 3 weeks later, on my mom's birthday, their house lost electricity, water, and internet. Follow my story, and maybe you'll see a piece of yourself in it. My name is Ryan. I'm 30, living in a small town about 40 minutes from Seattle. Each morning, I brew coffee, check the weather, and drive less than 10 minutes to my job. I co-founded a modest tech company specializing in green energy solutions. Not everyone gets what I do, including my family. They assume I'm fixing machines or turning wrenches, which I don't correct. I've never felt the urge to clarify. When people ask about my family, my parents, or my sister Jessica, I offer a faint smile. "It's been a while since we spoke," I say, and leave it at that. I'm not concealing anything. I just don't see the point in revisiting the past. I haven't spoken to them in over 2 years. No calls, texts, or holiday greetings. It's been a quiet void, like a cord was cut, and no one bothered to reconnect it. I once believed family was everything. But 2 years ago, on my mom's birthday, everything shifted. 3 weeks before the event, I'd arranged time off and booked a trip home. The plan was straightforward. Arrive early, stay a few days, and help with the party like always. Nothing special. I just wanted to let them know. I called my mom, but my dad picked up after 2 rings. "I'll be home a couple of days early," I said casually. "Let me know if you need me to grab anything or help out." His response was vague at first, then he paused. When he spoke again, his tone was heavy, like he was dodging something. "Ryan, maybe it's better if you don't come this year?" I thought he was worried about my work schedule. "It's no trouble, Dad," I said, holding my coffee mug. "I've got it all worked out." The silence stretched longer this time. Then he spoke, colder and firmer. "Jessica's bringing her boyfriend this year. He's a big-shot manager, polished, speaks well. Your job, it's not something we can easily talk about. It's better if you stay away." Heat surged from my neck to my face. My pulse raced, and I gripped my mug tighter. "What did you just say?" I asked, my voice unsteady. "Are you serious right now?" He didn't backtrack or soften his words. Instead, he said, flat and sharp, "Your presence would just embarrass us all. If you still come, don't call me your dad." Then he hung up without hesitation. I set the phone down. My hand trembled, slick with sweat. The apartment was silent. No TV, no footsteps. Just me, staring into nothing as his words looped in my mind. "Your presence would just embarrass us all. If you still come, don't call me your dad." For a moment, I wondered if I'd misheard. But no. Every word was deliberate, cold as ice, unyielding as stone. No mistake, no room for hope. I clenched my jaw, my throat tight like something was stuck there. Memories flooded in. For over 2 years, I'd quietly paid their bills, electricity, water, internet. They never acknowledged it, and now they called me the family's disgrace. I grabbed my phone, hands still shaky, though my mind was clearing. I opened my banking app and checked my transaction history. I wanted a number, how much I'd spent on their bills over 2 years. Electricity, water, internet, every month, automatic deductions from my account. Nearly $400 monthly, without fail. I scrolled to the total, $9,842.17. I stared at it, not shocked, but something settled in my chest. Not grief, not anger, just emptiness. almost $10,000, and they called me the family's disgrace. As I looked at the long list of transactions, a quiet question emerged, one my family had never asked in 30 years. Had Jessica ever done as much for them as I had? It wasn't envy or a need for recognition. It was just that if I was the family's shame, who were they measuring me against? I'd paid nearly $10,000 for their expenses, silently, asking for nothing, never mentioning it. What about her? Had she ever sacrificed or stepped up? Or did she just show up, look pretty, and charm everyone with her successful boyfriend? I wasn't keeping score. I was questioning because, for the first time, I saw fairness was never part of this family. I'd always been on the sidelines. In family photos, I was often half hidden behind someone or caught at the frame's edge, never quite facing the camera. No one told me to step aside, but I always did. Jessica was the star of every family moment, birthdays, graduations, even her breakups. There was always a reason to rally around her, comfort her, celebrate her. I can't recall the last time anyone asked if I was okay. Jessica, 2 years older, was never just older. She was the golden child, the one our parents boasted about to relatives. Me? If I came up at all, it was a brief mention. Ryan? Oh, he's doing fine. Works in tech, I think. I thought if I worked hard, stayed quiet, and handled things, they'd see me eventually. They didn't. When you're used to being invisible, no one notices when you're gone. I started paying their utilities, electricity, water, internet, 2 years ago. It began with a call from my mom. She talked about rising costs, how their bills had spiked, how their retirement wasn't enough. Then softly she said, "If you could help, even a little, it'd mean so much." I agreed, thinking it'd be temporary. But the months rolled on, same as before. No one mentioned stopping, no one had a plan. Sometimes I'd ask, "Is Jessica helping at all, Mom?" She'd dodge. "Help us this month and your sister will step up next time." Or, "Jessica's covering Dad's medical costs. That's tough too." I knew those were empty excuses, but I smiled and let it go. So I kept paying nearly $400 a month, quietly, without complaint. No one acknowledged it. I thought being responsible would make them see me. But now, they called me the family's disgrace. After that call, I sat frozen on the couch, phone still in hand. I wasn't angry or heartbroken anymore. There was just one clear feeling in my chest. Enough. I opened my banking app, went to the automatic payments, and canceled each one, electricity, water, internet, without a second thought. I did it calmly, not for revenge, but to hold on to the one thing I had left, my self-respect. A week later, my mom texted, her tone as gentle as ever. No mention of what happened, no apology, just, "The internet bill's due. Can you handle it?" I read it, stared at the screen, and set the phone down without replying. Not to make a point, but because their first thought was a demand. Pay the bill. No, "Are you okay?" or "Can we talk?" So I stayed silent, and that silence said everything. 2 weeks later, my dad called. The phone rang a few times, then stopped. I didn't answer. Minutes later, a voicemail. His tone was sharp, impatient. "The power company called. The bill's unpaid. What's going on?" No concern, no mention of his words from our last call. I listened, turned off the screen, and set the phone face down. And so it went until my mom's birthday, 3 weeks after my dad told me not to come. The party went as planned. Her favorite roast chicken, cake from her favorite bakery, relatives around the table, except I wasn't there. At 4 p.m., I sat in my living room, a cold coffee in hand when my phone buzzed. It was my mom. I stared at her name, then set the phone down. I didn't answer. My dad called next, then Jessica. 3 calls in under 10 minutes. I let them all go. No curiosity, no urge to respond. I sat leaning against the chair, staring at the fogged-up window. The sky was a dull gray, no rain, just a quiet chill that hinted at winter's approach. Texts started coming 10 minutes later. Mom first. "Ryan, the power's out. The house is dark. Please pay the bill." I read it silently. No anger, just a hollow calm, the kind you feel when you've carried a family's weight alone for years. Then my dad. "No water. Can't cook. Fix it now." Then Jessica. "Internet's down. Guests are here. Fix this. Urgent." I checked the time. 5:12 p.m. I'd canceled the payments 3 weeks ago, right after my dad's words. Now, during the party they didn't want me at, everything stopped. Power, water, internet. What they needed it most. I didn't reply or call. I didn't feel the need to explain. I just sat, turning the cold coffee cup in my hands, staring out the window, seeing beyond the glass. In that moment, I realized they weren't calling because they missed me. They were calling because no one else would carry their load. By 6 p.m., my phone buzzed again, this time from relatives who only show up for holidays but love to judge. Messages poured in. Some called me ungrateful. One said, "You shamed your mom in front of everyone." Another, subtler but cutting, said, "Your sister was right. People like you don't belong at happy occasions." I read each one, not replying. Not because I agreed, but because I was done explaining to people who always chose the loudest crowd over what was fair. I was about to set the phone down when it lit up again. Aunt Lauren, the only relative who still believed in me, was calling on an old video app we used because we cared enough to see each other's faces when it mattered. I hesitated, then answered on the second ring. Her face appeared, lit by the warm glow of the kitchen I knew so well. Every creak, every noisy drawer. But tonight, it felt different. There were clinks of cutlery, nervous laughter, and scattered chatter in the background. She looked at me, her eyes kind but concerned. "You're not paying, are you, Ryan?" Her voice was soft, probing. I met her gaze and spoke slowly, pulling up something long buried. "It was Dad, Auntie. He told me not to come. Said if I showed up, I shouldn't call him my dad." She went quiet, her eyes shifting as if scanning the room behind her. Then chaos broke out on the call. My mom's voice cut through. "Tell him I'm ashamed of him. Today of all days, how could he do this?" My dad, loud and sharp. "It's just a few bills. What kind of man gets petty over money?" An uncle, I think. Poor Jessica, stuck with a brother like that. Footsteps neared the camera. Jessica appeared behind Aunt Lauren, arms crossed, face twisted in frustration. "He actually answered? Mom's been crying all day. Does he even care? No shame at all." I said nothing, just watched, silent, as if silence was my only shield. I was about to end the call when another face appeared on the screen's edge. A young man in a sharp suit, hair neatly combed. He looked at me, confused, then gave a hesitant smile. "Hey, boss," he said, his voice rough, unsure if the word fit the moment. I froze. I stared, pulling the phone closer. I hadn't expected this. Not here, not tonight, when I was deemed too shameful to attend. I looked at him and it clicked. His face, his tone. He was a new hire from our southern branch. We'd exchanged emails and he'd sent me reports. But I had no idea he was Jessica's boyfriend, the one they were all fawning over. The room behind Aunt Lauren seemed to hold its breath. She glanced back and the kitchen erupted in frantic whispers. Someone muttered, "Wait, what did he call Ryan?" Another confused. "Boss!" "Is Ryan his boss?" The whispers grew, overlapping, uneasy. I stayed silent. No nod, no denial, just watching. The young man stood taller, looked past the camera and said clearly, "For those who don't know, I work at Pacific TerraTech. Ryan's one of the co-founders." His words were sharp, loud enough to cut through the clatter, and the room fell into a stunned silence. I pressed my lips together, gave a slight nod, and said evenly, "Hope your big moment goes well." Then I ended the call. That night I slept deeply, no tossing, no waking to old questions. For the first time in years I felt light, not from satisfaction, but because they finally saw me. The next morning, before the sun fully rose, I checked my emails, meeting reminders, accounting notes, and then a name I didn't expect. Hudson Kane. I opened it. "I'm sorry. I didn't know you were Jessica's brother. I've always respected you at work." I leaned back, reading on. He was shocked to learn I was Jessica's brother and, without sugarcoating, wrote, "I didn't expect her to be like that. I'm ending things with her. Thank you for not putting me in a tough spot." I set the phone down, closed my eyes, and after a moment, typed a reply, clear and direct. "Hudson, that's your choice. I don't expect anyone to make decisions to please me. Think it through. And for the record, I keep family out of work." I sent it. No lingering emotion, no second thoughts. That was enough. Around 10 a.m., during a meeting, my phone buzzed. Jessica's name. I stared, then declined. Not out of anger, but because I was done with apologies that only came when things fell apart. A text followed. "I'm sorry. I didn't think Hudson would change like that. You're his boss. If you talk to him, he'll listen. Please ask him to come back." I walked to the window, reread the message, and typed. Not too long, not too short. Hudson didn't leave because of me. He left because of how you live, how you treat people, how you look down on what you don't understand, and how you think a soft voice can sway anyone. I sent it, pocketed the phone, and went back to work. Another text came. "I know I messed up. I'll change, I swear. Please believe me, just this once." I read it, felt nothing move inside me, and deleted it. Not because I didn't care, but because I understood. The gap between us wasn't in the apology. It was in when it came. A week later, on a Friday, I stopped short on my porch. My parents stood at my door, each with a small suitcase, faces worn from the long trip. I didn't ask why they'd come. It wasn't a casual visit. I let them in, no tension, just a choice to have the talk inside, not out in the wind. We sat in the living room, tea steaming on the table. My dad spoke first, softer than usual, apologizing. My mom added they'd reflected, gone too far, and things shouldn't have reached this point. I listened, silent, waiting to see if this was closure or a new beginning. Then my dad's tone shifted. "We're family, Ryan. Family supports each other. We raised you, got you through school. Part of what you have is because of us, right?" My mom, gently, as if it were reasonable. "If you could send $2,000 a month, just a little help. It's not much for someone like you." I looked at them. The same people who'd once barred me from a family event for being an embarrassment, now putting a price on their apology. $2,000 a month because I was their son. To them, my success was a debt I owed. I gave a soft chuckle, not sharp, but the kind you let out when a story doesn't add up. What about Jessica? How much is she pitching in each month? The room tensed. My dad glanced at my mom. She spoke slowly. Your sister's job is shaky. The breakup with Hudson's been hard on her. I nodded, unsurprised. Same excuses wrapped in sympathy, but just deflections. I looked at them squarely. If Jessica commits to $2,000 a month, I'll match it. No more, no less. They stared, gauging if I was serious. I continued, calm. Or, if I'm covering it all, I'll need a legal document stating the house is mine after you pass. Silence fell, heavy and thick. My dad stood slamming his hand on the table, spilling the tea. "Conditions for your parents?" he shouted. "We raised you for over 20 years, and now you're haggling like this? What kind of life is that?" His voice echoed, loud enough for neighbors to hear. I didn't flinch, just sat, hands on the armrests, looking at him, not cold, but no longer soft. I waited until he finished, then stood, voice low but clear. "I think you should leave my house." It wasn't a threat or anger, just a request from someone who'd reached the limit of respect. No one spoke. Just the sound of suitcases dragging across the floor and the door clicking shut, quieter than the weight they left behind. It's been 2 years since I saw them in my home. I didn't block their numbers or change my email. I just stopped reaching out and waited to see if they'd still treat me like family without duty binding me. In 2 years, no call, no text, no "how are you?" No mention of birthdays or health. I used to think they'd change. Now I know some people don't, especially those who never admit they were wrong. I still live here, work, go through my days. The difference? I'm no longer an emotional ATM, giving and breaking under obligation. Family isn't where kindness is demanded and called love. Real family values you as a person, not a wallet or a fallback. Before I close, I have a question. Was I wrong to walk away? For refusing to send my aging parents $2,000 a month despite them raising me? I once thought family could fix anything. But after being treated like an outsider in my own home too many times, I chose to break the cycle. Was I too harsh? Or was I finally learning to value myself at the right moment? I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether you agree or not. If this story hit home, please share and subscribe to support more stories like this. Thank you for staying until the end.